Facebook to me is a mix of work and fun, where family, friends, work colleagues all kind of intersect. And as the world is melting around us and the media stuff is happening, it's even more important to have that as a place where you can go and maintain your identity and deal with these various parts of your life. If you're a Seinfeld fan like I am, you might remember the episode about Independent George, where George Costanza, his life is ruined when his separate worlds collide. And on Facebook, that happens every day. And that might be one of the reasons Geeta hates Facebook, but there might be others as well. One of my favorite headlines from a New York Times story was, OMG, oh my God, my mother wants to be my friend on Facebook. Some of you remember this is a Michelle Slatella piece that was terrific, maybe now written 2.5 years ago. And I find that that is a topic on people's mind no matter what age they are. I've had that conversation with 17-year-olds worried about their mom. I've had the same thing with 27-year-olds worried about their mom. I've had it with 45 to 60-year-olds worried downwards about their daughters and sons. And then I met somebody who was telling me that their father, so the grandfather, who's 75 and lives in India, was complaining to his daughter that the grandkids have refused to friend him. And she said, Dad, she's on the phone to India, she said, Dad, for your blood pressure's sake, you should be happy they're not friending you on Facebook. Right? Grandpa in India, 75, and I want you to keep that in mind, that I believe Facebook is not a function of age. That the fastest growing segment on Facebook is people 60 plus, and I meet so many people, including this 75-year-old grandfather in India, who are using Facebook as a way to connect and make the connections that they want and keep in touch with family. As with any of these things, you can decide how much engagement you want to have. Right? And so that's one thing that I'll say about Facebook. The other thing is that Facebook really changes how you communicate and connect with people. You're seeing writers, editors, people you want to be in touch with, revealing parts of their lives. Sometimes you don't want to know. It's too much information. But it's also a way for you to keep track of them if they want to be kept track of. There is now access to editors. If you're a book critic, there's now access to editors, to columnists, to authors in a way you could never have imagined before. And we'll get to more of that when we talk about Twitter. So one of the problems, however, is the section that they call the news feed, where you're hearing what happened to your friends. That section is, first of all, filled with too much information, but also every minute you spend there is minute you're not reading the New York Times, not reading your NBCC colleagues' reviews, etc. Right? So that's a major issue with regard to how people handle that. Also, I have found that when you use the Facebook and you use the wall specifically, or the news feed, that Facebook becomes one of the great time sinks in human history. Have you noticed that? You go in for 2 minutes, you come out 20 minutes later. You go in for 20, you come out 2 hours later. And in fact, I have a colleague who told me that he has half a wife. What does that mean, half a wife? And he said that means, he was talking about how the kids get put to bed, and in the old days, they would have a conversation, read the paper together, everything else. It's bye-bye and off to Facebook land, okay? And you're hearing things like it. Now, you can see the parallel to almost every word I've said. I used to do these same sessions about something called the internet, something called email, where we'd say, well, this is not for me, this is for the young people. I don't need this, or oh my God, it's a time sink, or oh my God, all the things you're seeing. So that's important to keep in mind, perspective on this. I also said there are dozens of these social networking sites. I focused on 3 because those are the 3 that are most efficient and useful for people who are writers and thinkers and people like that. I mean, if you're a real thinker, maybe you shouldn't be on anything. You should just have a piece of paper and pad. Let me talk about a couple of other parts of Facebook that, and again, in a room like this, there are people with very advanced knowledge and others not, so please forgive me. But things that confuse people. For example, poking, right? It is, I tell people, poke my wife, I don't care. It's completely okay. Poking is, in effect, where you go on there and you say, you know, I haven't talked to Jane in a while, so I just poke her. And what that means is, it's like this. Hey, you all right, Jane? Just thinking about you. In the old days, that is 2005, we'd pick up the phone and call her, or send her an email saying, Jane, thinking about you. The current generation doesn't need that. They just poke, and that's what that is, right? Now, you'll say, gee, why can't they just pick up the phone? Why can't they just email? Why can't they text message for something like that? Well, the answer is, this is the same generation that decided the word okay was too big. Right? What did they turn it into? K, right? And it's actually brilliant. Why do you need the O and the K? You just need the K. Next is going to be and that's all. If you ask me how are things going, I might just say and you'll understand. So keep that in. So that's about the poking. And I'll also say that one of the more interesting things on Facebook is that they're about to redesign. In fact, they've redesigned and rolling out the new design of Facebook. So has anyone seen the new design yet? It's just launched, so one person in the room, two people in the room have seen the new design. I've not gotten to see it yet. And what they're trying to do is be more like Twitter in what they're doing. And so I'm going to move to Twitter in a minute. Let's talk for a couple of seconds about Facebook. Questions or comments about Facebook from anybody in the room? And, oh well, maybe to be fair, we should start with Geeta, and she'll tell us why she hates it. And my job is not to convert her. My job is for her to make a better decision about why she's not on there. There are a lot of things that I might talk about, that you might talk about, that aren't for every single person in the room, right? I mean, that's just a fact of life. We just want to say, is there a specific reason that makes sense for you not to do this? So Geeta, you're on the spot.
I am on Facebook.
Okay, but you hate it because?
Yeah, for some of the reasons you brought up.
Okay.
It cuts into my day. I would rather read a book. You know,
nobody's forcing you to go there. Nobody's forcing you.
But because our newsrooms got such a push on this, everybody's getting trained on it. Everybody's got to do all those things.
Right.
It's just too much. And then I don't want to read about somebody making beans and rice.
Right.
Sorry. So I have not found the network that's right for me
I understand.
yet.
But
So.
the answer is the NBCC brand new group is going to be perfect for you.
I just
right?
asked Jane to friend me.
Okay, good. And by the way, at these conferences, one of the things that happens is that you meet a lot of people, you even have a drink, and then you friend people afterwards, and then they don't remember. I mean, it depends how much drinking you did. But also what happens is you've got to reestablish the ties you made in real life again. One of the biggest problems on Facebook is that people get all these friend requests and they have no idea who it is. Every time you make a friend request on Facebook, unless it's a really good friend who you talk to all the time, please add a sentence. Say, hey, high school buddy, or NBCC friend, or something, just to trigger and actually give people a reason to friend you. I've had people who I know very well, but their name is different. You know, I know them by a nickname, or by a cousin that I knew in a different way, and suddenly they're popping up with their formal name and their ID, and I don't know who they are. So always do that. If you friend me after this, just put in one line, NBCC. Do that for each other, just to make it easier. And then one thing I should say, because I did this session to a group of people, and one of them said, Sree, if you teach people nothing else, please teach them the following. Most of these Web 2.0 services, as they're called, will ask you, do you want to see which of your friends are already on? Why don't you check your Gmail account or your Yahoo account or AOL account? And it sounds very innocuous, and many people, including very smart, very experienced computer users, have done that. And what happens is, it's very likely to send a friend request to everybody in your address book. Think it happened to you. So think about your address book. You'll say, well, I'm a friend of everybody on my address book. Well, you're not. There are people on there who you were in touch with, you don't want to be in touch with anymore. There are former editors who burned you, or you burned them, or writers you were once in touch with, then you reviewed a book and you kill them, and then they're really mad. But what this man in the audience said was that this was early days of Facebook. He had broken up with his girlfriend for about 1.5 years, and no contact, and suddenly she gets a note saying, would you like to be my friend? And it raised all kinds of issues, and they had to go into therapy. It was very, very difficult, right? So keep that in mind when you're doing the friend request. And by the way, what has happened is that Facebook has ruined the term friend. right? It's some people are colleagues, some people are acquaintances, some people are family, some people are folks you never want to hear from again, and they lump them all into that friend category, and that's a problem. Some other social networks give you different